Hi everyone, so I'm going to go through what I learned from this book. This is Think and Grow Rich, the complete classic text by Napoleon Hill. So I heard about this book from many of the influencers that are part of John Maxwell, including Paul Martinelli, and I decided to read it. I normally get my books and I keep them, and then when I have time I read them. So I got through the preface yesterday and the introduction, and one of the good lessons I think is about perseverance and also understanding having the right tools. He covers in there a story about when the gold rush took place, how a father and son sold everything and they went to the place where the gold rush was happening. And after some time they gave up because everybody had left, nobody could find this gold. And somebody picked up the instruments and went to somebody knowledgeable in the town to ask them, where do I have to look to get that gold? And that person helped them and he found all the gold and he got rich. So I think who's speaking into our lives, who are we going to get the advice, to get the guidance? We can live in a land of opportunity and we could never get those good paying jobs to get those opportunities because we might not be speaking to the right people and we don't know who it's going to be that's going to be that person that gives us that one gold nugget of advice that's going to help open the doors for us. So we have to persevere and we have to keep looking and we have to keep earning our daily bread, so to speak, earning the respect, earning what we have. And especially for those of us that are not born in the countries we're living in, we have to keep earning our citizenship because we are not guaranteed to live here. There are many people who have lived in England, in Canada, their whole lives, and they've been deported back because the government has changed the rules, the regulations, and they've said, no, you can't stay here anymore, and they've sent them back. And they haven't done anything wrong, they didn't deserve it, but the laws have changed and they've decided they're not keeping them there anymore. So when my papa, my grandfather Ama, used to tell me that we always have to be prepared, this is not our country. In Rhodesia, what was Rhodesia and present day Zimbabwe, I always used to ask him, like, why do you say that? Like, I was born here, you came here from Goa a long time ago, Daddy was born here. And he used to say, no, I know, but this is not our country. This country, we might have been born here, but they can take it away anytime. So we always have to do what's right for our country, for our families, and we have to also help the poor. And my grandfather used to take me because there was a certain amount that he would always give to the poorest of the poor. Not that we were rich, we were also struggling, our business was always in debt, but he used to take me with him when he used to go to the locations, to Amaveni and Imbizo, where there were people living, just they had taken tins, pieces of sheets of metal, and they had made 4 sheets of metal and one at the back, and they were living in there because they had nothing else to live on. So my grandfather and my dad used to help people that way. When they came to the shop, my grandfather sold a lot of different things. My dad only sold baby clothes and wool and things like that, but my grandfather sold the staples, the basic foods, tin foods, candles, bicycles, blankets. He had a general dealership. So he sold a lot of different things. And so he used to help people like that. The other thing is that how they have Klana now. This Klana system, people think it's a new thing, but it actually is not new. So the merchants, the sales representatives, when they used to come to the shops, they wanted to sell their products. So they used to take on the risk, and they used to give the products to be sold. And then the same way we have our credit cards and we have the interest charges, my grandfather used to have a system where he used to write in the book what they were buying, how much they were able to pay, and then he used to add on a percentage for the interest. And then when they got their pay, they used to come and pay whatever they could afford. So these systems, some people think, oh, they knew, or look what Klarna is doing, or look at how the Visa works. But actually these systems have existed in Africa for a long time. It's just that we didn't have the plastic, the cards. We recorded it by hand in the books. And that's how we help people. So that's another lesson. Like, you don't have to think that your systems are backwards because you're coming here from a different country. It's just that they're doing things electronically, they're doing things differently to how we did them back then. And if we persist and we persevere, we can also learn those things if somebody gives us an opportunity. And if somebody is willing to help us to learn them, we can learn them. If you look today at Roger Federer, he got a doctorate from one of the US universities because of what he's done, how he's helped people, his tournaments, how he's come up, how he's persevered. So sometimes people do that. They've done it for others in South Africa. There are many musicians, there are many black musicians that have received degrees from our universities, including Nelson Mandela. Robert Mugabe studied. He studied, and in prison he got his degrees. So people made fun of him, people laughed at him, but he was educated and he was running the country well for those first few years. And then IMF came in and World Bank, and they wanted to put in their systems. So with their systems, everything started going down because it's based on the Western ways of doing things. So anyway, there's different pros and cons of the way societies work and the way they operate. But for those of us who are living here, we have to adjust to how they want us to do things here. And we have to learn, and we have to keep, every day we have to keep that in mind. When I worked at Teleperformance, they used to tell us each interaction matters. So it doesn't matter if that last call was a bad one, that last chat was a bad one. If your scores were down for the previous month, you had the opportunity to bring them up on the next call, the next chat, the next email. And the coaching was real time. So we didn't have a monthly performance appraisal or an annual performance appraisal. We never got bonuses and things like that anyway. So it was all about delivering the best service to the customers, to the public, and your internal customers. Whatever you got paid, you got paid. So for me, that's not an incentive. There's no incentive. And many of us asked for an increase, so they gave us a 50-cent increase for the 1 year. And then you have to wait 2 years to get another $1 increase. So it's very hard when you're working in that kind of an environment and you're not going to get a pension, you're not going to get anything at the end of it. But we do it because we have to work, we have to put food on the table, and we have to eat. So for me, I'm learning how to build my business. I'm putting out these videos because the more videos I can put out, the more people can watch them. Hopefully somebody will invite me to say, we'd like you to come and speak on your immigrant experience, on your overcoming racism, and how you adjusted and what you learned. And so that's what I am doing. And it's not easy. Believe you me, it's not easy. But I learn and I grow and I change and I adapt on a daily basis to whatever I need to do. And my culture is not their culture. The way they think is not the way I think. Their normal is not my normal. So if such a thing as normal exists today. So that's why I take these courses, I learn, I read, I join calls, I look for free courses on the internet, I do whatever I can, and I had no support here in Canada, none. So whatever I've done on my own, I've learned on my own, I got used to the subways on my own, I moved on my own into my one-bedroom place, and then when I moved from that place into my first condo, and I was telling one of my friends the one time I came home and the door was unlocked, and that was very frightening for me because we lived in a secure building. There was only one elevator going in and out, and you come home and your door is unlocked. So, it's very frightening. And then after that, when I used to sit in the movie room, the security guards used to tell me, keep the door locked, get a camera. Even the condo manager told me, she said, get a camera, put a camera in your unit. And I couldn't afford it at that time. But that's how it goes. So I had to learn, I had to adjust. I didn't expect to do that in Canada. But the crime is going up in Canada just like it's going up in other places because people don't have jobs. There are some people with mental health problems that turn to stealing. There was even a woman that worked with my mother in the Salvation Army, and she was stealing from them. She used to go with a truck in the evenings and steal, and she left and she went to Canada. So my mother didn't report it. I told her, you have to report it. And she's like, no, I don't want. So I left it, but I told people. I told the MPs, I told whoever I could so that they could report it. Because then it becomes about my word against hers. But I sponsored her. I brought her to Canada. So at the end of the day, they could deport me if they think that I'm lying or I didn't do my duty. They'll see me as an accomplice to the theft. So that's why I told the MPs. And I didn't just tell the MPs in this area, I told the MPs in Milton, where my mother lives, so that they can't turn around and say, well, you knew and you didn't tell us. Because at the end of the day, I earned my citizenship in this country. I didn't have any support. When I went to do my master's, when I went to Rotman, I worked and studied. For 7 years, I studied and worked to get my master's. And then after that, I graduated, I went to agencies, I spoke to the priests in the church, I went to door handing out resumes. I couldn't get one permanent job, not even one. And they expected perfection. They expected me to come in and hit the ground running and just perform, just do the job. I didn't have the relationships they had as permanent employees. I didn't have the support they had. I didn't have the savings they had. But they expected me to do the same level of work as they did. So that's how my life has been here. And I have to just persevere, I have to carry on, and I have to keep applying, keep talking to people, keep telling people about the multi-million-dollar projects I worked on in banking, in healthcare. I helped to revamp HR systems for recruiting with PeopleSoft. I helped TD with the MBNA merger of credit cards. I helped to roll out communications for CIBC when they were doing testing for the sandboxes for rolling out communications in the retail branches. And then when I worked in the hospital, it was temporary at the Toronto Western Hospital, just to cover for people taking vacations. I worked at Hugerson Consulting. Again, it was temporary, an executive assistant role. So it hasn't been easy for me. It's easier if you have a support system, if you have a husband or you have a sister-in-law, or you have somebody that will be there for you. I didn't have anybody who was there for me. So I made the most of it, and then when people came, I tried to help them. I introduced them to the parish, I helped them to get their children into Catholic schools. I helped as many people as I could. And I gave money to charities. I did whatever I could. So now I want to start earning those big bucks. I want to start earning the good money so that I can save and so that I can give my mother back her money. Because she's told me many times she also has her own expenses. Not that I don't know, of course I know that, but if you're only earning minimum wage or not even minimum wage, it's very hard to even make ends meet. When I worked at Regis College, I was earning $11 an hour. I was running the library, but that's what I was earning. So it's been very hard financially for me. And I've got all the skills, I've got all the experience, and there's a lot of opportunities out there, but there's also a lot of people looking for work, and there's a lot more people coming into Canada, fleeing Nigeria, fleeing Zimbabwe, fleeing all these other places. And the things that happened in Zimbabwe are now happening in England. They're now happening in different parts of Canada, where people are being held up in their homes, where people are having cars stolen, or you calling for the ambulance and the ambulance is saying, oh, we can't come and fetch us. I mean, it's quite frightening when you see what happened in what even Mr. Mnangagwa says in third world countries, and you now see that happening in the global north. It's very disturbing. But anyway, I take it one day at a time, and that's what I learned, and that's what I'm hoping to do, is that from these talks I can help other people, and that I can actually start earning a fee from it and start doing it to have a business for myself on the side, or even just to get, if I get speaking events and have some extra income from that while I'm looking for work, that would be good. But every day I follow the same routine. I go online, I apply for jobs, I call the recruiters. So on my part, I'm doing everything I can. And that's all that I can do.